Welcome back to the Slice&Dice Podcast. I'm Phil.
I'm Jono.
And I'm Sam.
We're back again, and I'm back off holiday, huzzah, with a ring on the finger, as everybody probably knows by now.
Got a ring on the
Congrats.
finger. Yeah.
Thanks.
How's it feel?
It's like you're playing against fire ice and you keep on getting frozen down.
Okay.
You're like, I'm locked in now. I'm locked in, and then the fire damage comes in, and you're like,
what's the fire damage?
This is my life
engaged.
now. Yeah, it's being engaged.
Frozen out of the game.
Frozen out the game of life, and I'm being Sabin pinged on the stack. It's just like.
Didn't realise you were such a free bird.
But no, it's lovely. It took him. The joke is that it took him 5 different wines because it was when we were at a winery.
How many wines did it take you then? Because apparently he asked you before.
Well,
I was pop the question yourself.
Well, I had the same 5.
Wines.
I had the same. Yeah, it was like it was rings at dawn because I had mine in my bag, and I was like, no, fuck, I was going to do it, and my ring was there as well.
Should we do swapsies?
But it literally was. I was like, let's swap. So, yeah, but it was good. But
Nice.
yeah, back in reality, I missed cardboard. I saw everyone like posting whilst I was away, and I was like, I don't care about Final Fantasy TCG whilst I'm on holiday, and I was like secretly like, I want to play with my little guy. I want to play with my cards.
The hilarious thing is that you've just made your whole engagement an analogy to FFTCG, so you must love it that much that you
just trying to be tedious links.
It's great. I love it.
But yeah, how about you guys? How's the month been? Let's go round either way.
Lovely. Summer's starting. Competitive season starting.
Yeah.
Hyper focusing on a cube starting. I'm having a great time.
Yeah. The inner brains of Sam has been leaking all over our Facebook chats.
I think I sent a GIF to Sam where it was literally like that girl smiling deranged at a camera, like scribbling with a crayon like, furiously. I was like,
That's been me for like 4 days. I've worked harder on this like Pauper Cube than anything else in my life for 4 days.
For 4 days.
well, at least James Duff, Alex Hancock, and the other player who possibly plays Cube in Europe will be excited now.
Chris Matisky as well, apparently.
Nice.
I've seen him post on that.
I'm looking forward to our Cube.
But
All the best people.
You're channeling it into just pauper cards, right? So rare and commons, which kind of like takes away all the unfortunates of Zidans and things being floating around.
And also means I will spend nothing on cards, hopefully.
Exactly. It's got to be cheap, hasn't it? Like that's why Commons is really good. So the Cube can be.
The Dice Cup has way too much bulk, Like
Utilize it to the max,
yeah.
If you want to buy loads of Commons, you can buy it from the Dice Cup. You can have it.
Yeah. 10p a card, or come and see me.
Just palming them off. He's in the back dealing.
Maybe that should be
my trench coat full of commons.
Maybe that's our store
Nothing
celebration. Maybe that's the prize pot for store celebration. You win a 5-row box of bulk. Nice.
Any opus you like.
It's a shame. We'll move on to this later, but yes, you're making me think about Commons Cup now.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been proper busy, intense. Like the season, it's good the season's back because locals are busier now. Like our Wednesdays and our Thursdays are busier because our Wednesday was massive when I was away, wasn't it? It was like nearing
kind of. Not near.
Was it nearing 15?
I think.
I feel like the biggest recent one was when you were there, right? When Kinney, maybe the first one with Kinney.
That one, yes, but the
we
one
had
after
15 then.
was equally as big or similar. There were like quite a few people.
I think
10 to 15 people, which is big for us.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, big for an FFTCG community in the UK, honestly.
Yeah, no, but to be fair, I think that's it's a nice consistent sort of number that we're getting frequently. Is we have boasted an eight person locals once, and that was great, and it still is great. Having 8 people at our locals is great, but then if you can bump those numbers up to being like 14 plus, then you're winning effectively.
We love having that many people at locals.
Well, we started getting the guys from Leeds coming down, Johnny and James, because we had a John off I had to figure out.
Lovely fellas,
what we call Johnny.
Yeah. So
shout out to them.
They've been in our chat group as well, having good conversations about when we're going to see them next and all that. So yeah.
Oh yeah, because Johnny with his list won't spoil yet. Played the list at Leeds, and we've just had Alfie like thirsting after every ounce of that list for the last like 2 weeks.
Calm down, Alfie. You'll get there.
He's selling me a Rufus, so I'm benefiting from it at least.
Yeah, and James sniping my Rufus sales, goddammit. But yeah, I mean, so let's move on for Leeds, I guess. So the event season's started off, and we've done one event we've done one event. Two of us have done an event, and we'll all have done probably 2 or 3 by the end of the season.
Yeah.
Overall, maybe more.
Or by 2 or 3 celebrations.
Celebrations, yes.
Because you've got regionals and Materia Cups and Continentals, right?
Continentals.
They just exchanged a really meaningful glance, and I'm sitting here like, okay.
Continentals, yes.
Yeah, I think isn't there a Continental Cup in England?
Yes, there is. Harlequins. Is it Harlequins, I think?
Really?
We've had it posted. I believe it's been confirmed already. I need to check. It might not be Harlequins.
This is a much nicer competitive season, though. If you compared, like, the last one we had, was it just regionals?
It was Store Championships.
Cups. Yeah.
Store Championships. And then you had like Crystal Cups in the very early part of the year.
Euros.
Yeah. And then last chance qualifiers.
There wasn't really a Nats, was there, last season?
There was a last chance qualifier before Euros. And
the one that my alarm didn't go off for.
Yeah.
That was so sad. That was so sad.
That was a rip.
I was like looking forward to hearing. Everyone was like, "Oh, how are you getting on, Sam?" And he's like, "I'm in bed."
Sleeping.
It's like, dude, it's like round 3 or something.
Literally had the deck list printed out. I was like, this mono water list. I'd called it like 3 Moogles, 4 dragons. I had a cute name, new sleeves, new map. Alarm didn't wake me up.
Wow. We rely on everyday technology, and it fails us every time.
I mean, it's definitely not user error.
No, not at all. But yeah, so we're going to end up doing a few at least store celebrations by the end of the celebration season. But we went to Leeds, didn't we? And we've got a question about like what we do to improve as players, which was asked by YYT, and it kind of blends in nicely we can blend it in with like how Leeds went, really.
Yeah.
So what did you play at Leeds, Sam?
So I took the Mick Moll Water Lightning list. Obviously I only had 1 Pew Pew and I had 2 Thancred. So ever so slightly, maybe 2 card difference. I like the deck. I think I did well on it. Should I go into my games? Do you want the full shebang?
We can do games in a sec because we don't want to spoil round 1.
Right, you better tell me what you played.
Well, I played Wall 7, relatively straightforward list for Wall 7. It was like Hancock's esque, I like to call it, because you're seeing like these 8 lists. You're seeing these sort of like lists that are completely deviated from Alex's Wall Soup, but in terms of the outer fringes. But mine was really standard, still with like the Mog in there, still with the Axstar Tivus, and now trying to remember the rest of it. Oh, no, I wasn't running Y'shtola at that point. I think I was still on Amats. So yeah, I think that was just a Hancock build.
Yeah.
I was running the Summon backup as well, with the Opus 1 Summoner for that event, just because it put fear in.
It's cute, and it does kind of like do something, doesn't it?
And and the Fire Cloud backup as well that can search something that doesn't have repeatable play, 5k board, whatever.
Have you kept that one in there? I think that was...
I've for the moment, yes, but I've taken the Summoner out and gone back to Uke at the moment, just because I've gone back to some a little bit of like searching speed, and I might want to see other cards I've put back in. I've got a bit more Wind Engine at the moment because Wind is a bit more.
I still think those sort of flexible Hancock's lists are, in my personal experience, they seem to be the best wall builds because it's less fragile than like Water Lightning, and just the best one I've seen is still the Hancock's build, IMO.
Yeah, there's like the odd card that you change out if you want to try and throw people off when they're like, whoa, like I've dealt with your Gilgamesh, and suddenly you slap down Opus 3 Barts and everyone's like, whoa, like you can still attack multiple times even though you've got no break zone. So
the worst thing as an opponent is never knowing if they run Amat or not.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating. You're like, what, do I play around Amat or not here?
Yeah. I think I was playing Y'shtola, actually. I'm trying to remember, because this is the spoiler for round 1, I guess, is that you and I played each other.
You didn't play Y'shtola against me.
No, I think I amatted I amatted at the end of your turn when you had Porum. Is it Porum or Palom? Who's the
Porum is
you can't do an end of turn.
Oh, no, it wasn't an end of a turn. I swear I resolved Amat. I resolved Amat on somebody.
It might have been. Leeds. I tried to Garuda you, so you could have amatted that. But I remember that surviving.
Yeah, no, that survived. I definitely did that Amat at some point. But yeah, so like, God, talk us through round 1. Let's talk about your
played you. So we'll both talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah,
that was an interesting match because I feel like I didn't make any blunders.
No.
I think maybe an inaccuracy or two, but I think you just had a nice opening. I played a Garuda kind of a bit off curve, and I only killed like 2 things with it, I think.
Yeah, because you were pretty spooked that I Tyvust. And I went Tyvus for like the first 3 or 4 turns, and you didn't see a Wall 7 for a while. Like, I think I searched early, so you saw me do like an Aria or a Sarah FFL search, but I did a Tyvus when you were expecting a Wall 7, and you were like, interesting.
Yeah.
So that was like a...
Yeah, I think it was a good line, because it didn't lock you in so much. But yeah, it was different for sure. But I just, because my choice, I remember, it was like Garuda and kill 2 things now, or go to damage 5, and then Garuda and potentially kill more things.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know if I want to start the game on damage 5.
No.
So it was one of those games where I didn't remember anything being like a big inaccuracy, like a big blunder, but yeah, I just couldn't, sometimes the power of Wall 7, like the efficiency just gets you. If you don't have a like nice... I think it was just a bit off curve, my gameplay on that game.
Yeah, and I was able to cope with you playing really well. Because like you say, neither of us really played badly at all, so it's not like a misplay won it or something, or like pressure. Yeah. And it was one of those games for me where like I was able to keep backups down, or keep resource in hand. So even if I do Tyvus or I do Wall 7, I've actually still got like 1 or 2 cards in hand, and I'm not feeling as pressured by you to empty my hand to like do a good thing. And I feel like that's where Wall 7 is better when you're able to manage your hand size. I mean, any deck is better when you're able to manage your hand size, but...
Can't remember the burst situation as well, because obviously Water Lightning FFA is like a 20-ish burst deck, so I don't... That obviously, what bursts come through have a big effect on the result of the game.
Yeah, but it was a very tight game, but it was over like, 20... I think it was around like 20-minute mark. It was near time.
Was it? Oh, I thought it was quicker than that. To me, it felt like a 15-minute game.
We definitely had a bit of like a... It was like 15 or 20 minutes, yeah, so it was quick, I guess, but it was definitely not like I didn't steamroll you. It was very much like I must have been like, what, damage 5 or something like that? 5, 6, something like that. It was very tight.
I wish, these kind of games are the ones where I wish I had a better memory, because like I could probably pick apart the precise misplays more so than having this vague idea of what happened.
I definitely remember I had key removal early on, and one of the finishing factors I remember near the end was just removing Adea to like get rid of that last bit of your control.
Yeah.
And it was just like, Adea's gone now, I can just Gilgamesh to my heart's content or whatever it is I want to do. So,
I think you had Axstar at some point, didn't you?
Yeah, it was when I did the Tyvus line early on you, and you were like, not doing well. Yeah, it was Tyvus Axstar quite early, and then you wiped that board with Garuda, and then it was like Wall 7 afterwards to try and recover. So
I think it wasn't really a Hooded Man game either, was it? That deck's a lot slower.
Oh, I remember.
Hooded Man doesn't resolve. Maybe that's what you am at.
No, it wasn't the Amma. I now remember this. I did Cloud, LB Cloud on your Palamporum.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that and being like, this is a Cloud moment. You were like, you were fine with it. Yeah. I remember you being pretty fine with it, but you were like, oh yeah, that exists. It's one of a lot of people are still having that. They're kind of going, oh yeah, LB exists. And you're like, shit.
Oh yeah, so I think what I wanted to do was use Porum to blank Axstar. Which is, I mean, to be fair, if you clouded, I could have still blanked Axstar.
Yeah, right? You like would have done it, but I'm still going to get rid of it so it doesn't grow. So it doesn't get out of control. But yeah, that was a pretty good game. But then, how about your round 2? Because now we can.
So we went. Oh god, the round 2 was a mess.
Would you rather do like your day? Do you want to do your day rather than back and forth, or do you want to?
I don't mind. Yeah, we can go back and forth. That might be more interesting.
Okay.
My round 2 was a mess. So, opening hand, no backups. Mulligan, no backups. I'm against a guy, and at the beginning of the game, he was like, "Oh, I've not played for ages," and he's on monks, and he's like playing in a very inaccurate way, or it felt like it from my perspective.
Yeah.
So I'm just like aggroing him because I have no choice. I'm like aggroing him with Leos and the deck gets him to like damage 5, and he's starting to he has like an Ursula and like 2 or 3 backups and. Prish, I think 2-drop Prish. I like finally see a backup when he's on like damage 5.
Yeah,
it's like one of those games, and he like misplays a bunch and lets me beat him, and I feel really bad. But like, was like, on this look, I need this guy, So they balanced out, but it was a weird. That's like a 1 in 1,000 game. It feels like you're not seeing that at a tournament too much unless you're on the bottom tables.
I guess that's rather pleasant, no, because neither of you are. It was like Sod's Law round 1, like go to Leeds, play against someone from locals, like great, like, and so it's like nice to at least have not nice, but having an easier game, like where you kind of like
and it's good to like have your easy game where you get bad draws, right?
Yeah, because
then you're like, okay, good.
Because me going against you is not like a surefire that you'll win, but I'd say it's a good 70 to 80% probably.
I think my our practice games, my Water Lightning probably beat you like 70%, right?
Yeah.
So, but then Sod's on the day.
But just like general, like if we were both given like any deck and we were both like neutrally capable with that deck skill, like you would probably be 70% of the time, like you'd be like 70% sure you'd win the game, like skill level kind of thing.
Yeah, 60 or 70, because you always play a strong deck, whereas I'm occasionally on a weird deck.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, no, that's all right then. But there was somebody that dropped in that event as well. So I don't know if it was that guy or there was 2 players and 1 person dropped, because we were all like, "There's 21 players, only 20 Mist Dragons. Like somebody needs to leave," and somebody left.
Yeah. And we like that for Alfie. Was he? Oh no, I think he was
Alfie
19th,
was like,
wasn't he?
he was like 18 or 19 or something. So it was just like, yes, Alfie, get in.
Yeah, we drove up. I drove Phil and Alfie in. Just for context.
Road trip.
That was fun.
Yeah, I missed out on that one. It sounded really good.
But when's your next one, Jono?
Well, my first one will be our own local one in Dice Cup.
Sweet.
So yeah, I'll be coming in on the first if I can sort things out, basically, because it's my lad's 10th birthday the day before, which makes it so awkward to go, yeah, here's your birthday. I'm pissing off to play cards the next day.
I'll bring back a trophy.
Yeah.
You need to somehow like get everything done on the same day.
Yeah, that's what we're planning to do. Family's travelling up, which makes it even more awkward, because then it's in a weekend, isn't it? So they always all these things sort of get inconvenienced at the wrong time for me.
Thoughts and prayers for you.
At the same time, I definitely am going to try my best to get to it, and so that'll be my first, and then I'm thinking try and persuade for Derby the following day. So get into Boards and Swords.
Next day?
No, sorry, week. The following Saturday. So the 8th of June is Boards and Swords, and I'm going to try for that as well. Yeah. So those are my 2 options.
We jump back to your round 2.
Yeah.
I was going to say, and I can give you a lift as well. I'm trying to organise lists for Derby. So
yeah.
I think there's a few of us going to Derby. So
yes.
My round 2 was against the person that came 4th in Top Cut. I can't remember his name. People know him. But it was
Wind Ice, right?
Wind Ice, and shout out because my match started with him saying, "Oh, I saw what you were playing," because he got the bye round 1. He was like, "Oh yeah, I saw what you're playing, Crayon Muncher." I was like, "Nice," and then it was like joking and stuff like that. But obviously, a very very like confident player who people knew, like you were like, "Oh, I know." Like I think whoever Sean maybe was like, "Oh, it's him." Like, "Oh, someone good that's established." So it was like fine, and I was like, "I'm not a Crayon Muncher. You just don't." I said something along the lines of, like, people think that probably haven't played it enough to realise there's a ceiling, and then went and lost. But honestly, I did say at the start of the match, but I'm going to probably lose just because like that kind of like talk myself down thing. But it was actually pretty good. His words, I made him almost made him crap himself because he got to damage 5 within like 3 turns.
Yeah. You can go pretty aggro with level 7, right?
I got Gilgamesh pretty fast, and I tried not to aim for Gilgamesh just because like it's such a thing. But the moment I saw Wind Dice, I was like, my break zone's safe, like we're good.
Yeah.
But he started to whittle me down around damage 5 with a very early Sid Hayes that I missed the timing to respond, and I was like, shit, I could have stopped that.
Ultimate shield it.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, fine, we'll like take that. I've got stuff in hand, I'll recover.
Damn, you could have got him. You could have killed him.
And it was still like going well, and I was still controlling the board state mostly. He was starting to get a couple more things out, and the real kicker was Atomos.
Yeah.
Atomos just destroyed
Atomos is such a
me.
good card.
You can't interact in Wall 7 unless that thing is a forward. You cannot interact with it, and even then, like a Wall 7 is so on your own turn. Unless like you am at the Atomos when it makes it, you can't am at the Atomos.
You can on attack.
Yeah, on attack.
That's it.
But that's the only situation. So that Atomos got so much value that you started recurring, and then he Lusoed me using LB Leo And that's
Yeah.
So, but
That's cool.
But even he said like this deck, he said I couldn't really beat you without my LB deck. Like that's kind of how it works.
Yeah.
So I wasn't salty because it's a bit like one of my first ever games in Sheffield, like last year when I was like playing against you, and I was like, whoa, this is like so cool, like ripping my board apart. And I had sort of this similar thing of like watching him tear my board apart, and I was like, he's gradually getting this game back, and I started counting the cast. I was like, oh my god, he's gonna hit cast 8. I think he got to like cast 4, and he like Leo'd, and I was like, whoa, cast 5 with an LB card, holy shit! And so I was like happy with the
That's
loss.
a thing.
Yeah. So
Honestly,
like,
Leo's insane in a Storm deck. It's terrifying.
yeah. So I was like really
It's in mine.
happy that beat me, because I think like after winning against you round 1, I have this thing of like, if I win once, I'm like, don't get excited, just like play. So I went full tournament mode of like not even making eye contact, because I have like I find like eye contact extremely painful most of the time when I'm like in intense situations.
Yeah.
You
I
just
say
got-
that now and sounds like sorry, but so like I'm literally like monosyllabic and just like looking down like at the playmat. But it was a really good game, and the way he played and controlled like out of a damage 5 Gilgamesh situation, he deserved to be top 4.
Yeah.
So
Do you know, is you said, I'm not sure, was it after then that you said you wanted to try Icewind? And is it that experience that had maybe made you think that? Or
yeah, not necessarily that. It was more after
Okay.
the event, and then that was something that a deck that came to mind. But only briefly going into YYT's topic, and we'll go in and out of it. That it just made me realise that there were a lot of decks at Leeds that weren't aggro, like that did well. Like there was a little bit of Earth. There was like Wads isn't really aggro, really. It's not.
no,
Wads
it's one of those mid-tempo, sort
it's
of like
kind of
mid-range.
control with Diana, but it's definitely not like
Mid-range tempo thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it made me realise there were a lot of decks that weren't Wall 7, that weren't outright aggro, that did really well, and that I've only ever played aggro. And when I thought back to that event, I was like, I got beaten by a Wind Dice. Like, I can definitely try different things, and they're still relevant. They can still do well in a room. Like, I can still have fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're talking to... you've taken Alex Hancock's like aggro list, or not aggro, tempo list, and his sort of bread and butter is wind, so and he tops with a very controlly mono wind deck. So there is definitely room for these other games. It's just that we've seen a lot of aggro versus tempo sort of situations throughout the past two opuses, really.
Yeah.
So,
It's just like, as I've had it said to me by a few people locally and a few people through Messenger, it's like, I just need to see how the other half live, because I have literally played mostly aggro or borderline aggro decks. So that's just where it came from, really.
No.
But,
Fair enough.
Yeah, so that was like not a bad loss, to be honest. I like saying it's not a bad loss. So then round 3 was all right. How was your round 3? Let's go back to you.
I think so. This is where memory getting sketchy. I think my round 3 was against James, who comes to
Right,
Yeah.
James
Rylet. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was also on Wall, I think.
He was on Wildcat 8.
Yeah, and I think I don't remember the game very well, but I think I must have got like an early Irvine or something, because I remember it all just going my way.
I was sitting next to you for that, I think.
Wildcat 8 is probably one of the
Maybe.
harder Wall 7s to play, in my opinion. Like, there's so many lines of play that, whereas Wall 7 standard wall, as we call it, is very, very straightforward in the ideas of what you want to do. There's so many things with Wall 8, with FF8 package in there, which you've got to micromanage your different, your break zone. You've got to micromanage everything else as well. I feel like it's a bit more of a, you've got to have your head in all different pots to be able to play that deck, compared to...
It's interesting because I would assume that the FF8 one was more linear in its game plan than like Hancock's kind of build.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can see what you mean. Like, you got to keep an eye on everything.
You got to keep a head on different resources, to help you keep your board flowing.
Yeah. But anyway, like I don't remember the game very well against James. I think I played a lot of Walls against Wall 7 plenty, thanks to Phil and yourself. So
Was it a win, loss?
yeah, that was a win. I remember it being relatively straightforward. I think maybe he took me to like damage 5. Oh yeah, heat. So I think that's probably a misplay by him. Like, took me to damage 5 and then without killing me.
Yeah.
And he should have left me on damage 4. So then I just popped off and like Thancreded and then Odin's for 2, you know. And he's probably doesn't have a good chance at that point.
That's something I don't think I've learned yet in this game, is I don't like taking I know I sit there going, oh, there's loads of damage 3 cards this meta, or loads of damage 5s, or in my own deck, like Zeramus damage 3, cool, I need to bear that in mind. But I just think about smacking. and then afterwards when like they play a card and I'm like, they play like the perfect card and it's damage 5 trigger, I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have attacked last turn. I'm still not got that in my brain yet, not to push past certain damages. It's funny. It's a funny thing.
Yeah, I mean, you literally had an EX on our practice game before we started this podcast, right?
Yeah.
It's brutal.
Oh. My round 3 was against Knights, so I kind of categorized my losses as coin flips or as misplays. So Wind Dice I said was majoritively a misplay, but he was still like outplaying me mostly. But like the misplay was not dealing with the Sid, like letting that Sid Haze resolve the first time and then getting rid of it the turn after. So that was like a misplay that impacted a turn's worth of value, a bit like our game before stream.
Yeah.
This one was also a misplay for round 3, was against Knights. So he went wide fast and it was really scary. We're talking basically perfect Corilla resolution and very early Charlotte control. Like he's got the Charlotte down and I'm like, okay, I haven't established my Axstar yet, so my first Axstar ping's got to kill it. It's going to buff itself. And this was one misplay was damage. I didn't take the damage modifier into account on Charlotte, so she was too big.
That gets a lot of people.
Yeah.
But before the damage, we were both like very close to each other on damage. We're like talking like both like damage 4 or 5, so it's very near the end of the game. And I met a situation where before I went into combat, I could have basically blew Charlotte up with LB Cloud. I could have LB Clouded before combat, gone into combat, Axe started board apart along with Faris.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
And then I went into combat and I was like, you know, like when you're in a game, even in a tournament, you're like, you know what, I think this person's chill. I'm just gonna be like, oh, I've just missed the thing. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna do a thing. And they're like, yeah, sure. Like I knew I couldn't. I just couldn't bring myself to do it.
Yeah.
Stuck to my misplay, and I just had to deal with the board as it was, and that cost me the game because Charlotte was just like wreaking havoc on my ability to break the board apart. I think I still LB clouded her, but it just was a CP's worth of resource lost.
It's horrible when you've got to commit to the words you've just mentioned. You just said you're like really like I can't control my mouth sometimes.
yeah.
It's why you have to. Yeah, it takes so long to get to that point where you can map your whole turn out.
Yeah.
Before you start doing anything,
because
but that's like the best way to play.
Yeah, it's such a hard thing to say one thing and then your brain immediately thinks up another thing afterwards and goes shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. I've said it now. I've got to, like you say. I don't know. Like you would hope that the person opposite you would, you know, you would take the words into some sort of account, I suppose. But at the same time, you're in a tournament. You've got to do what's right by the person opposite you, right?
So it's like you need to not allow yourself to play anything until you've mapped your different lines of play and chosen one.
I need like a chess block.
And then don't don't allow yourself to go into combat until you've double checked everything.
Yeah,
exactly. I need like a thing that moves, like a little train track that moves things so that it's a physical thing. So I go to move the train track, I'm like, oh no, wait, I can do this thing. I need a blocker in the way. But that was also like another good loss. I was marginally tilted from losing like a second game in a row. But again, like I took like 5 minutes of like, I went over to Alfie. I was like, how you doing? It's like fucking crap. And I was like, hey, bless him. But I don't blame him because he
that was his first ever competitive event.
That is,
and he's on Knights.
And he had really tough like matches where he just didn't get to resolve stuff or play much. Like I remember him being pretty downtrodden. But then I thought about that Charlotte situation and was like, actually, like I realised pitch perfect what the problem was. So
I think that
you were 1 millimeter away from playing perfectly there.
And I think that's the saving grace with card games in general, is that if you know where you've sort of cropped up or tripped up on something like that, it's nice to feel like I could have got through this easy. Like I don't know, it feels that ego a bit. You know what I mean?
What did Sparky say? His inspiring words in.
Oh, that's who it's
like.
Right. You reminded me of who I played.
Okay, but what did he say earlier? Like, I've never lost.
The only L I ever take is learning. Bless him.
Yeah, but it was really apt. Like the only L I took that day was learning, I guess. But
beautiful.
I think round 4 tilted me a bit more. But how was your round 4?
So I might be getting round 3 and 4 mixed up, but I played round 3 and 4 with James and Kinney. I'm not sure which order.
Kinney / Sparky. So
Yeah.
we've had a
Kinney and Sparky are the same guy. Yeah.
Sparky mention and a Kinney mention. So they're both the same person.
Yeah. He's lovely, and me and him. He was probably my main testing partner before the event, so we knew each other's decks. He played a Siren. He was so tilted after this game. His Siren did not hit what he wanted it to hit.
Yeah.
And yeah, my FF8 deck
needs
rolled
less
over
forwards.
him.
Needs less forwards.
He can't attack my break zone with that deck either. So if I play the right tempo and get rid of the Tiduses at the right timing, his pet deck was like a bounce deck.
Yeah,
he's gone off
bounce.
But it was a cool idea.
I think it definitely derailed me when I played him in the locals with that. It just the fact that every bounce got him with Tross on field and with that Tidus, starter Tidus, drawing 2 from one bounce is crazy.
Oh yeah, he'll get away with the game if you let that happen. So, that Tidus has to die on sight. But I knew the matchup. His Siren missed. What are you going to do? He was very unhappy. Yeah. So it's a bit unpleasant when you've upset a friend with your tournament result, but that's life.
Yeah.
That's life.
My round 4 was my round 4 was a coin flip. It was against Johnny, who I think his locals is Leeds, but they don't play there. I don't know. But he was playing Wads, and it was like the first hand was like a rainbow of colours that didn't work with each other and no backups, so I mulled. And then the second hand was just no backups and no meaningful forwards that I could like. I know it had, like War 7 does have like forward curve. There was no forward curve. The cards that I drew had nothing, so I was purely like playing like 1 forward a turn, praying to draw a backup.
Yeah.
And he got down like turn 2 or 3, like knacked. And just obviously Nax is just the pop-up 10 deck, and
I was literally about to say that he popped up the 10 and you were screwed.
I don't know. No, Sam,
There's so many perfect connotations in that sentence.
What are you thinking of?
I'm just a little guy. I'm just thinking pure thoughts.
Sure.
But he he basically just went
knock it over.
He just went Deanna Glaive control and then got down Alba a little bit later, and I was just like, this was just like a really quick one. And he was quite deflated like before the game. He was like, I got a shit record, and he beat me and seemed to enjoy the rest of the event. So I guess the L for me is giving a friend the motivation to do better. But that was like a very non-comment, just coin flip match.
Fair. Did you ever resolve a Wall 7?
Against him, yes, but I think it just got controlled. He just controlled.
Presumably you couldn't ultimate shield much because it was so late.
Yeah, it was out too late. He'd got like 3 forwards on board before I even had a wall. It was just not worth it.
Big oof.
I think I did Amat the Nact once, but it just slowed him down a turn, and I had nothing to count. I didn't have enough power to counteract to slow down Nact. It was just gonna. I couldn't. And if I had enough CP for Zac, it would have worked.
Yeah.
Amat, Zac, kill it. But
commiserations on that one.
Yeah, and then round 5. Round 5 for me was really quick because your round 5 was probably quicker, but my round 5 was just Kinney, bless him, and it was pretty much the same. Of like he said, he basically mulliganed and had a terrible hand, and then we were in a situation where he got to choose like what I removed or something. Like he did something to my board, and the choice was nice, and it ended up just giving me 7 colours with Gilgamesh, and I was like, okay, thanks, I'll just Gilgamesh you, and I just Gilgameshed him, so there was nothing there. But
I think playing a deck like a control deck that can't remove the break zone right now is hard.
That's kind of why I stepped away from the FF8 stuff, because any deck that's playing control is removing break zones at the moment.
Yeah, it's funny because FF8 won Leeds, like it was a pure.
Yeah, but it wasn't. It was my round 5 Zav.
Oh, okay.
He went on to win the event.
Okay.
So I'm going into this 3 wins out of the 5 rounds.
Yeah.
So I'm like, ooh, and then I'm like, okay, Zav, I know he's a great player. So we start playing. He's on Ice Lightning FFA.
Yes.
With a selfie in there.
Yeah, a selfie in there, and he just plays pretty gently. He like plays 3 backups, and he's slowly building this board. He's had Ice Squall on the field from like turn 2, turn 2. So I know that it's been creating value, but I've not played against it very much, and I could have paid 5 to kill it. But obviously I want a more elegant way to kill it. So I'm playing value myself. We're both kind of and then I end a turn with a Odin in hand on like 2 or 3 damage.
Yeah.
Both got, somewhat wide boards, and then he just goes like 3 or 4 forwards. Obviously, Selfie comes in for free and then puts a forward and hastes it. One of them is Gilgamesh that can swing twice.
Yes.
Is that his name, Gilgamesh? The FF8 one.
Yes.
Yes.
And and I'm thinking, well, I've got Odin in hand, so this is going to cost 2 if he takes me to damage 5. But he's just got like 8 swings. And I'm just dead. And I'm like, I just didn't see the swarm coming, because I'm happy to go to damage with FF8 Water Lightning. Like
yeah,
it's
of course.
at its strongest when you're on the brink,
Yeah, of course.
But I didn't realise he could just like murder
He can get
me
past
that quickly.
he can get past that point with just
So it's a weird timing thing, and I do think when I'm against a good player, maybe I'm prone to playing a bit quicker or my mindset changing. But that'll definitely lead into a point in the future podcast.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we've got his list here.
Yeah.
Look at this
'Cause
list.
he's not playing Ice Squall.
No,
He's not.
No, he
not
is.
Ice. He's not playing Light Squall, because you said Light Squall, I think.
No, I said Ice
I said
Squall.
Ice. Okay, fine, I misheard. But yeah, the Light Squall is so, because I was looking at this list and I like played it online a little bit, and it, like you say, it's such a gentle is the right word. It's such a gently paced deck, and I feel like it comes out with things like, say, the Quistis that actually is busted if you can't resolve it.
Quistis will freeze the board, and you'll be dead.
Yeah, and people will like read Quistis and be like, "Oh, I don't get to pull it off very often because I don't control enough stuff." And it's like, dude, like that's where this deck is nuts.
And I think that's where the spanner got thrown in, because every Ice Lightning FF8 deck I think of is Dredge or something really fast or something with rug in.
Yeah,
This is just 37 FF8 forwards essentially, 12 backups, 1 copy of Eden, and that's all he needs. It's such a straightforward plan. But apparently that's all he needs to just like tempo out the game and murder you out of nowhere.
Yeah, I wish I'd watched that.
So yeah, fair play to him. He does have the Axis to mill himself a bit.
Yeah, which is something you played in your Wall 7.
That's correct, yeah.
Axis is great.
It is great. And
the Vincent as well, yeah. I think he did Vincent me at some point. Maybe that's why. I think that's probably why I ended a turn with 5 in hand, because I was like, well, he's Vincent me, but I'm not going to overreact here.
Yeah.
And then I die with like 3 cards in hand, which is
it's a
frustrating.
strong list. And I think if I'm honest, Zav does lean into category sort of tribal.
He's classically tribal, yeah.
He loved his FF9
Yeah.
decks, which is obviously a big shout out to him because that's the best game, objectively.
Or is it?
But yeah,
FF8, mate.
See how good it does. But yeah, that deck did look like. It looked very rogue at the same time, though. Like it looked very like super.
That's part of the reason I think I just didn't even like deal with it very well. Is like I just didn't know what was going to happen. Which is weird because it's it's Squall. Like what else is he? He's not going to be not aggro, is he?
Yeah,
no, of course. Yeah.
But I just didn't think he could manifest the board on that level. But there it is.
There we go. I guess like because it made me think like you were saying earlier, Jono, like you walk away from events like that and you either sort of like you're not at the point where you want to think or about like an event you just want to go home and cry or celebrate, or you go home and you do think, how did I do? Like what am I going to do next time? And actually it's been one of those events for me where I've gone, what am I going to do? And I've had a bit of like a shutdown of I don't want to do anything for a week. I just need to not play. But I don't know. So, before we go into it, like, what have you? Because you've sort of you've started changing your build / your deck. So where are your like before you step into an event? What are your big improvement points for yourself? I guess?
I think this set has been a journey of self-discovery of some kind. I know this sounds ridiculous because I've had 7 years playing this game, so I should have found something. I think me and you chatted about this on the last podcast regarding where I feel like I fit within this game now and how I feel the game suits me and how I want to play. So jumping with the idea that Cat 8 was where I wanted to go, I thought this looks great, I want to trial this. Everyone trialing it as well. I think I've gone through stepping stones of loving the idea of staying with tempo on the verge of aggro. It seems like the best home for me. But I love the games where I'm able to make multiple decisions at once at the same time, where I can like span out my ideas and say like, right, I don't need to go all ham on this turn, or I can chill out for a bit, or I can here's a window I maybe might need to knuckle down and get into the game. I those sorts of things have weighed in heavily on my decisions over the past month playing this new set. Coming down to our locals and having my face beaten in by various different decks and stuff like that.
Guilty!
I mean, we played Wall 7 standard, like your standard Wall 7 against the not quite KP lists, my own sort of like, oh, this looks cool, I'm going to tailor it to how I feels best for me. And you beat me every single time. I think this is where the comparison is that your the actual fire cards within Wall 7 standard version have so much more gravity over sort of like control, like going wide first, but also controlling a board state. Like I know that a deer is good for controlling a board state, but if you've got no break zone, because certain things happen, you know what I mean?
It's really early game. You don't get 10 in the break right away, do you?
No, right. But it's a race.
I know Wall 7, you can have like 3 in break zone, and you've got 3 on the board as well.
Yeah. So it just weighed into the notion that probably this isn't necessarily the way I want to play my games. I want to try and feel a bit. I want to feel a bit more in control on my opponent's turn as well. So
Wall 7 was 2 character speed for you.
That's correct. Yeah. So I don't feel like I had much in the way of interaction on say my opponent's turn. So I couldn't like stop them from doing what they wanted. I just had to sit there and watch them do what they did to my board and let it unfold. Do you know what I mean?
Interacting in your opponent's turn is one of the joys of the game.
It is, and so
I'm learning.
Yeah, exactly. And so like having no summons in the deck that I was running. I mean, I tried one Ixion, but it was very, very rare to see.
Yeah.
And that deck specifically, as we are finding out, and I think as we discussed previously as well, that EX count matters. Do you know, in a game like this now, is that having those turns where you kind of go, right, I've got no interaction with your board, you're going to destroy my board and then attack my face. How am I to combat this? Oh, I can rely on a good EX burst. Oh no, I can't because I've got none in my deck. You're just like, well, this is me. I have to live my life knowing that I'm going to lose.
I think I'm kind of glad that Wall decks generally don't, Wall 7 decks don't generally have
of course.
a high EX count, because nearly every other deck does.
Yeah, like 5-ish, give or take.
But then against our games, you had Amats, which made a lot of difference between your game and my game. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
of course, it's kind of like a no-brainer, right?
Yeah, my Amats and my Stolas, because I've been playing a mixture of either Wind Stola at 2 or the Fire Lightning Stola, just because she's such potent removal off of Axstar because of the Fire cast synergy,
of course.
which is really good.
But she did well against me in a couple of games we had. So I think the way that my brain's kind of like feeling happiest at the moment is going back to Warriors, where I was within Winter Cup.
Yeah,
because
it seems to suit you a little better.
Yeah, I get the opportunity to do things that I couldn't in Wall 7, so it makes me feel a bit more comfortable.
And you get to play Lena.
I get to play Lena.
You get to draw when your opponent's EXing.
Yeah,
I love it, Lena.
That does work, and no, I appreciate Lena a lot actually, because if you can with being in Warriors as well, if you can Lena in an Axstar and then have something perfect in hand, say like a Alphino or something like that, to bring into more, there's so many different options that you have within that sort of deck than say a standard Wall 7 in my mind.
Yeah. How are you taking so I guess like your main point is just to go back to roots, I guess.
I think so, yeah. I think I just need to fall back onto what I know is best for me.
Fair. So. And I guess you did really well at Leeds, Sam, so it's like interesting to think how you would what did you think improvement wise about like were there any major gaps of like I could have come higher if I did X? Or
Are we covering the question then?
Still sort of this is kind of covering the question now, I guess, and I'm using leads as a
Should we read it
catalyst. So the question from, because we've had, and this is good for anyone listening, we've had quite a few questions this week, a handful from the YYT team, so thank you for you guys, and we've also had one from someone on our Facebook page. So if you ever do want to like have a topic you want us to discuss or add on, or just a fun thing to say you want read out, or is it your birthday, I don't know, like, or whatever, then do leave comments on the posts that we put out in the Facebook groups and on our own Facebook page, because we use them for the podcast, and we just like, it's a nice thing to hear your question read out. Yeah. But YYT's question was statement rather, is having a bit of an introspection about your own weaknesses as players and how you plan to address them.
Mm-hmm. So
you wanted me to relate this to the Leeds experience.
Yeah, we don't have to now. I guess if whatever's easier.
Well, I can, because one of my big weaknesses is when I'm against a good player or in a high pressure game, I actually would say I rush, which is funny because like a lot of locals there are people who consider me a very slow player.
Yeah.
But when I'm well practiced on a deck, like especially a tempo deck like FF8 Water Lightning, I'll happily get in under the 30 mark, no problem. But when I'm against a good player, I think I'm rushing my plays. I'm just like, somehow the clock is pressuring me more.
Yeah.
It's just a higher pressure game.
Okay.
And that's one of them. But I'd say my other biggest weakness is that desire to not play certain decks.
Okay.
So like I don't want to play Wall 7.
Yeah.
But I'd probably be way better at playing against it if I actually sat down and played it a little bit. So like, it's usually a big meta deck, and like I'm better than I used to be. Like I just avoid any meta when I was, a few years ago.
But it's interesting you say that, because you were, say last set around sort of like Winter Cup time, or maybe even later.
Yeah.
You really were enjoying the 4-color wall sort of like 4-color setup deck, and stuff like that, which is still very relevant at this moment in time.
Yeah. I'm even thinking about jumping back on it.
Yeah, but I think to go back to conversations we've had about play the meta if you actually want to beat the meta. It's that same conversation.
Like, that's my problem. I know that's true, but there's still certain decks that put a little.
You can't not in some regards.
You definitely internalize something, I think, better when you do well with it or it works for you rather than losing to it. The good example I think is Onion Knight. Onion Knight has resolved its break zone effect too many times at locals and like at events of people that don't remember it because they've not played Wall 7. I think you'd probably remember it more if you had like loads of like good tingle moments when you're like, exactly. my Onion Knight just got broken, I'm going to pay 1 and break something.
Yeah, completely agree. Yeah.
So I think definitely you're right in that, just like it might help a bit, but
I take my own advice as well, because I will tell that to anyone, is like, learn the rules to break the rules. But I still have certain decks I don't want to play. I think it's funny, actually, when I think about all the big decks, I think I played all of them except Wall 7. Big deck energy.
Yeah, fair, because you are like a font of knowledge locally, or both of you are, but it is a case of you can pretty much tap into any sort of deck type, deck genre, and you can always like coach on it or whatever. But I guess Wall 7 is its own genre that's not particularly explored. I guess, and it's the super.
Well, I mean, it's not explored by me.
I think
it's explored in general.
I think with having tried it myself, I think I sit on that same sort of line as what you've just mentioned, is that I thought I felt a bit gross trying to play Wall 7. Like I was like, I don't really want to do this. It seems a bit cheesy. You know what I mean? It felt very pushing myself out of a comfort zone in certain ways of playing things that I know I'm comfortable with.
Yeah.
And also what people at locals might not feel comfortable playing against. Yeah. But at the same time, now that you, like we just said, like playing the actual cards actually makes me appreciate like how this card game actually works with these cards, and like you say, Phil, having a knowledge on a broad spectrum of different cards and decks and stuff like that, you won't encounter, say, Lightning, Water, Onion Knight in any other format or any other archetype, really.
Weirdly enough, could work in the Mick Mole list, weirdly enough, just because of elements. But I don't know whether you'd actually play it. But yeah,
it's a weird one. I think. Yeah, I don't know. Its purpose is to be a sticky forward, right? Essentially.
Yeah, because if somebody had complete knowledge of it, they wouldn't really want to attack for it to block, because it would die on the block, go to break zone, and then bounce or break when it recurs one from deck. So yeah, it's relatively sticky.
But well, it can kill the thing it blocks, so it's a good blocker, and it's sticky.
It can take a damaged forward.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it gets the thing that attacked and got blocked is damaged, right?
Yes.
But a lot of decks don't care about their stuff being bounced.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just like, oh, this has great entry triggers.
Bouncing's better later when there's an LB card down, because bouncing an LB card is breaking it.
Definitely.
Bouncing now just feels like any non-LB cards just makes it feel like everything has that, like you say, on-entry effect. So you've got like, I don't want to bounce anything, so what's the point?
It's weird the amount of unresolved Leviathans I've seen recently now. I think about that. There's a lot of people who are like, I'm just not going to bounce. I'm good. And I'm like...
It's going to take the thing from the break zone.
Because re-entry is just going to hurt me. You know what I mean? If you play that down again.
Definitely a shift that I've seen. But yeah, you get to appreciate like what I think deck building. It's helped me playing decks like Wall 7, because I've realised Wall 7 is not like the. Now that I think about it, if I'm right, because you two would know this game better than me, Wall 7 is not the first like soup style deck of like vomit out forwards. We've got Kirin obviously, and then there's one of the older Ardins does something similar, doesn't it?
I used to play. It's funny that I'm not that keen on Wall 7, because I used to play 6-drop Wind Varn.
Yeah.
Who does a very similar thing.
It does, yeah.
Right,
yeah.
okay.
So that was a starter.
Was that a reveal as well?
It was a reveal 5.
If you're on damage 5, it was do it twice.
Yeah, so you reveal 5 and drop a 3 cost or less. So it wasn't specific to 3 cost. 3 cost or less onto the field.
No, it was. I think it was specifically 3.
No, it was 3 or less. I reread it recently because I saw a deck on FF decks that played Wall 7 and Varn. So it was very much
Why
that.
not, right?
I reread it again, and it was on damage 5. If this comes out, you do it twice.
Yeah. So but that's the Wall picks 2, doesn't it? So
yes.
So the amount of forwards you get is on damage 5 Varn is the same as Wall, but then you don't get any ultimate shields. You just get an 8k.
Yeah.
The amount of forwards or I think it's forwards with Varn. I can't remember, or characters. I'm not sure.
It was forwards.
It was forwards. With Varn, you get 2, but then you get to look at 10.
Yeah.
So there's the bigger advantage of a bigger pool of cards to find your 2 that you want.
People used to do that and Renoa it.
And
you can vomit out so many forwards.
That's why Wall 7 has that clause of only on cast.
I used to love that. I'd have Windjustoller's obvious choice, 3-drop Zidane, and then you'd have 3-drop Noctis, and I had games where I'd take damage 6. That would be a Noctis in the EX, and I'd have Noctis on field, and I'd be like, break. So many free breaks.
So good. We were looking at that card. I was looking at that card recently and going, they need to make this better. Like,
I love that card so much.
This would be awesome as a new card.
Yeah. Like 3-drop Noctis lovers, we are out there.
That sounds like some sort of weird fanfic tone.
It does, yeah.
Noctis loves.
Noctis X 3-drop Noctis.
Noctis lover.
Oh god.
But the
oh god, my brain's just going. I'm thinking about the Noctagon thing the other day. For the
French.
Random tangent as we're enjoying ourselves a bit. Some of the people in our local chat don't use Octagon. And so it was referred to as Noctagon, to which I just replied with a perfectly timed gif of just Noct from Final Fantasy 15, and it went completely over the head. Like, why post the gif?
Yeah.
It was a good funny.
Circling back to sort of like, say, my weakness, I think my weakness is in actual deck building choices. I think that's where I would sit as being probably lower down in terms of my abilities to see a deck and really see the nuances of why each card is in that deck. I think you could show me a list and go, this is my build, and throw it at me, and I kind of go, that's a cool set of cards. I can look at it and go, that looks nice. And
I'd be like, nothing more.
and every time I throw you a deck, I'm like, I know he's going to give me loads of responses to this. So I think my personal feelings on my own deck building abilities, I think what I need to do is practice building decks more. Like go on FFX and just build decks rather than, say, scout out deck lists on the browser and then just look for ideas of people's decks. Because that's how I deck build nowadays, is going through people's decks that are already there, that look interesting to me, archetype-wise, and I go, that looks nice, I'm going to steal that, but then change it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people do that, but at the same time, I don't feel like I'm doing myself doing myself any justice by not building it from scratch, if you know what I mean, and trying to find out those.
Depends what your priorities are at as well, right? Because you can net deck and just work on your player skill and ignore,
of course,
the deck building thing. But deck building is a great joy of the game, right? So
of course it is, yeah.
If you want to work on that, then that's good.
I do enjoy that.
I do think there's something to be said for, like, it sounds really boring, but like net decking something and not changing it, because when you like change it, you're assuming you're going to make it better for you.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of players who do that are just making the deck worse and then playing it, you know.
Yeah, I definitely do that.
I'm finding that now. You know, like when Wall 7 came out of KP's list, and then I started messing around with it, thinking I can make this for me. I don't really like the Sid Randells and all that sort of stuff. It's not working. I might take that out and change it around. It's just made it worse. You know what I mean? So I see that.
Yeah. You took them out and then you played the mirror where Sid Randel's really good.
Yeah, exactly.
Where they're really good.
But that, I think, for me is where my, I think not knowledge of the game, because I know I've got a good, general card based knowledge, but sort of like going, I forgot about that, I'll miss that out, or these sort of connect the dots I need to do within my deck building.
Because you're already trying to do that, and we kind of had a conversation. I guess this is a nice way that I guess proves that. I guess so. The nice thing is you basically said, someone give me a card, I'll build a deck, and French gave you Dorgan, the new Dorgan. You made a like really cool looking deck out of Dorgan.
That's kind of what I was trying to challenge myself with. Is like someone give me a card that probably might not see play, but I might try and find a way that it could work. You know what I mean?
I feel like you're doing like Final Fantasy TCG Art Attack. You're like, I'm going to use this really weird medium to make a deck, and then we end up with like this really nice thing we can put on the fridge.
This is my big art. This is my big art.
That's what I was thinking when you said you like take a deck to Sam, and I feel like Sam goes, "Well, put this one on the fridge."
I do feel that's like a massive thumbs up. That's my big achievement of the day. Pat on the head.
But this is a thing I think when you were talking about your Wall 7 Cat 8 deck that I was talking about the nature of what Wall 7 does is cascade, and what Cat 8 does, or Dredge does, is try to cascade from card to card. I know I'm calling it cascade because it's the only thing I can really think of, but it is that, you need to line up my hand so that when I act star, I've got something in hand ready to play. Otherwise, if you're not thinking of that sort of linearity, it doesn't work. And it's when I realise that's what I struggle with when I deck build. Sometimes I put in a card and then someone goes, why is that there? Like, how is that? What is that card doing in this deck? And I'm like, it was like the same colour and it said add backup. Like, I thought that was cool. And then you're like, oh yeah, the rest of the deck doesn't care. Like, So there's a lot for what you said there, I guess. Of like,
that's it. Yeah, deck building's really hard. Both elements of this game are really difficult.
Yeah,
and I think that's why there is a great argument for like just if you're in a competitive event, going and grabbing something is going to work for you.
I think that's what I'm doing at the moment is, and I'm sorry I keep talking about myself, but I know this is me podcast. No, the idea of taking, because what I've done now is taken a Warriors list that Mick Mole, shout out to Mick Mole again, showcased on YYT's page. I've taken that as a net deck idea, and then basically just gone, right, that's my deck of choice. I will try and create decks on the side. You know what I mean? Like have my deck building ideas and curating stuff on the side of playing a competitive deck that seems to have already been tested well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's where I'm sat with this now.
Nice.
Yeah.
This is why I love side events as well. Like the Commons Cup coming up. Like, you can just practice deck building in a different pool with different tempo, and it's just really really good exercise in like card judgment and deck building.
White woman's commons.
Yes, and we're talking about commons now. You'll be happy.
Oh, so happy.
Because my time to shine.
Well, this is the thing. You built you shone in the last Commons Cup because you built like all the decks that existed for the format. Because then Nick from Card Cavern like sold them at the event. So you were literally the deck builder.
Well, to be fair,
format.
half of them were Steve D builds, right?
Oh, were they? Oh, okay. Fine.
Like the monsters, then the rainbow deck.
Oh, okay, fine.
Yeah.
But you built like my Vikings list that I took.
Yeah.
But now, like you say, like it's good to experience deck building to help you improve as a player in like a separate pool. Because I finally built like my first deck from scratch that actually works, and I'm like, because I'm playing like Earth, Water standard units, and apart from Lyndon thinking that fucking Pugilist is a common, it's a rare. But
I mean, fair play. He's like such a standard unit looking guy.
Yeah, no, he is. It's fair.
Yeah.
He's got common energy.
He's got common.
White mage G assassin violence, and I'm all here for it.
It was crazy seeing all those white mages staring at each other.
And actually, it's just a terrifying mirror match of I can't swing because my opponent is also playing 4 CP Earth White Mage and will summon a G assassin from Break Zone, like
Breaking something.
So we're both just sitting there going, when do I summon my White Woman? That was a really good game.
That was fun to watch.
Yeah. Oh, but we got Commons Cup. What is it? The Thursday of that week?
Yeah, that'll be the 29th, I believe.
Yeah.
Or 30th.
I'm psyched for it. I don't think we've done as much
30th
building, but we do have a month.
Yeah.
So
we don't have a month. We only got.
Yeah.
No, Commons Cup is this like.
Oh, you've got like 2-3 weeks. Yeah.
okay.
So yeah. So
yeah.
we're having it on the 30th of May, and so what that would hopefully be. Yeah, that's 2 weeks.
Yeah,
2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks.
So I somehow thought we were at the beginning of the month.
Sam's been asleep for for half.
Not good at dates. Okay.
Sam came out of stasis for this podcast. Okay,
I was in the deep slumber of cube draft brain.
Yes. Looking through that, I think I honestly is like that's impressive the amount of work that you've put into that in over just 4 days.
It was a very normal moment for me to put that much effort into a Pauper Cube draft.
But you've been like thinking about this for like I don't know a month or more, so it's kind of like all this like that month prior that you've been like going, I should make a Pauper Cube, and then you just do like it just happens all in like a day. Like
it was literally like you're putting.
I've done full-time job worth of focusing on it for the last 4 days.
It has been like you said, like Sam's been talking about it and talking about it and talking about it, and it was like almost like you couldn't hold it in anymore, and it just was just like throw all these things out.
500 cards. They all work together, I swear.
Two of them are different Freyas. Let's go.
We need 2 Freyas. 2 Freyas.
I hate that I have to bend the rule to include
Cherry Blossom.
That's so upsetting. So there's 2 Freyas in Pauper.
Yeah.
The multi-element and the Cherry Blossom one. I realised if you put these in a cube draft, all someone has to do is hate draft one of them, and the Dragoon deck loses that idea. And to be fair, I do think the Pauper Cube should be a get good cards, grab synergies if you see them kind of environment.
Yeah.
But I hate the idea that Cherry Blossom will just be hate drafted out of the thing every game. So I want to bend the rules and include 2 of the Freya with the special. But that it does like hurt to do that, to have all these 1-ofs and then this 1-2-of. I don't see how else I'm going to include Dragoons unless I just ignore Cherry Blossom.
You could just hope that you draft into 2 Freyas. Yeah. But that's it, really.
Yeah, just hope everyone's not caring about that.
The beautiful thing is that like you showcasing these lists beforehand, right? You showcase the lists of what possibly could be in the pool.
Yeah. You've got to give people a brief if you go into that cube draft.
Yeah.
So they will notice that, and then I think it is down to their drafting to be able to achieve that. So I don't think there's necessarily ways of like just purposely playing into.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
But it's really this project has really scratched an itch in my brain. It's been very enjoyable.
Can you relax yet? Can you relax?
No, I've got to get all the like serial codes down so that I can import them into that draft
simulator
creator online, and then like ask people to help test it with me.
Okay.
then
I'll be
then I
down.
might be able to relax. You know,
I'm
if I need 8 people.
That's fine. Well, if we use online, we've definitely got like 8 people, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll find
it'll
time.
be fun to do.
We'll find
Even
time.
there might be a way to cheat a few extra players as well, because the main thing is like looking at the decks that come out,
Yeah.
and then maybe doing the odd game,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah,
Good shit.
seeing if anyone's
Definitely.
broken. It's very fun.
I think going back to the idea that Commons Cup just innovates, deck building ideas and stuff like that. I think is it. If you haven't tried it, try it. Just a one-off try building a deck around commons, just commons, and see how much fun you get from seeing cards in a new light, really, because you see commons going, fuck, is that a common, really?
Yeah.
Just being in a totally different meta is like lovely.
And if you're definitely like a little bit bummed out about like current game speed or whatever, like Commons is just like a breath of fresh air. It's kind of like, I don't know, is Boomer Final Fantasy TCG a good term? Like it's just like back in my day, it was the game speed, but it is.
Yeah, it really
Backups
is.
are worth playing.
Oh my god!
It really is. Like you could play a commons game and feel like you have just de-aged a few years.
It is like going back to like Opus 4, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah.
But with a different meta.
The pace, pace is good, and still, despite the fact that we can say Opus 4, I bet you that some commons are still better than some legends from Opus 4.
Oh, definitely.
Left ear cares to stare down Opus 4 and say, "Fight me."
It really is.
Left
yeah.
ear-
We had left ear in Opus 4, it'd just be like, oh, Dadaluma dead.
Yeah, I mean, even Red Mage. I mean, sounds crazy, but the Red Mage from last set, who has 2 dull freezes on 1 card? Do you know what I mean? If you haste that Red Mage off of a Sage,
Time Mage has 2
Time
freezes
Mage
on
has
entry now.
two. Yeah, that's crazy. Like no common should ever have 2 dull freezes on entry.
But Commons Cup I like Commons Cup especially for the interest it's getting recently. Like when we've been at locals, and we've had new players like or people who have been like staring at us play and being like, "Hey, it happened 2 weeks in a row. We've had people come up asking, "Oh, what are you doing? Oh, I like Final Fantasy. Oh, I've got a friend who collects." Topical. Got a friend who collects and we mention like, "Oh yeah, this is our locals. This is when it happens. Oh, and by the way, we do Commons only games." And they go, "All right," and we mention it, and they're like really happy that like it's sort of like.
They can buy in.
This light, almost like this light version exists, and like, I can do the Commons one. They kind of seem to think it's a cool thing.
I think that's cool.
And yeah, we could be like, it's £5 for a deck if you get it out of the bulk, or less.
Yeah.
And it's I think it's an easy way to teach people in commons as well, in my opinion, because there's not too many walls of text on some of the stupidly high-ended heroes and legends we got now, where you've got to go, well, this stacks and this stacks and this stacks. There's still stacks, but it's much simpler.
They do that, like build Commons decks for like the demo decks. Like we have to build like some really nice.
I feel like that would be more easy to access, I think, in this game.
And if you build them, and every time we demo, we could like give the deck away at the end. That's kind of a cute idea. Because
I've done that before.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
You did that with me when I started. Not Commons, but you did that with me. You gave me the like
Bulk
starter
decks,
deck thing, and
yeah.
I was like,
I have cards, I can start.
And then I realised I was like, oh, these are like Opus 1. I bet they're like super cool or moderately valuable because they're from a demo product. No, they're like worth half a penny.
They're still in circulation.
Yeah. But I look forward to Commons Cup just because I'm going to need it, I think.
It'll be refreshing, yeah.
And we always have Commons decks on us as well as meta, so we'll like make sure, have we had a couple of draining games? Let's play Commons. So make sure...
I still think the best decks in Commons will be the same ones from last set. I don't think anything... It's only been one set, and I don't think that's changed a lot.
Yeah. No. I think the only card that, few cards of, the fact that there's... Like you say, with the White Mage and the G Assassin and the Time Mage relying on standard unit backups, you can get... I think that is a nice new synergy that the new set has produced for Commons. But other than that, I think, the standard for the meta of Commons is still good from last set.
Dragoons.
Yeah.
But it'll be fine. God, this has been going for a bit on this one, hasn't it? So have we got that one more question, haven't we? Which is quite a nice one to finish on.
Yeah,
which was...
let me just find that a second. So basically, this guy commented on our post. Let me just find that again. It's nice that people are actually interacting with the posts that we put out, just to find more information, find more.
Thanks a lot, guys. Yeah.
See what people think. To be honest,
more of that, please. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so nice to actually have an interactive community.
Yeah, imagine.
So, this guy, Michael Zygenfuss, sorry if I butchered your surname, Zygenfuss, maybe, basically has just suggested, suggested that we have a chat about players versus collectors. So, can you have one without the other, and which are we as people? Do collectors ruin things for players? Is there a balance you prefer? Really? So...
I'm going to slam in on this one then.
Go on.
I'm both. I play and collect because I was very fortunate to mass acquire basically every opus in full at once. I think I'm literally missing... My collection, I think, with my spreadsheet is like 95% complete across 22 opuses, not including promos.
That is hot stuff since, like, if you've just been in the game 1 year and you're like 95% complete, that is like,
and I don't
hardcore.
I don't try to collect cards that are a promo that's in an opus. Like, if it's a promo exclusive, like Laguna, I'll get a playset of Laguna. I have a functional collection.
Yeah.
But I would say that they can exist one without the other. The case in point would be our locals, is that we have people that do not actually know anything about the franchise at all and play. Therefore, if you they wouldn't be a collector in any universe. And if they did collect, it's because the cards are pretty and they like how they look but don't know who they are or anything like that. But,
or they collect for just having a playset of each card to be able to play the game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you can have people that the game could be successful, theoretically, purely off it being a very well-designed and built game. It's a bit like Yu-Gi-Oh! There are plenty of people who probably never watched the TV show and just know it's a TV show.
Yeah.
And then, I guess for me, do I think that it's damaging to have collectors? I think that was kind of the statement. I think that's not down to the collectors versus players thing. I think that's down to the game's distributors of like how much of it's in circulation. Because FF, for me, is something exclusively where I found... the distribution is tough, like depending where you are. Plenty of it circulates, but not for, like, say when I first joined, Opus 16 Fire Squall was a big like problem of like a thing to try and get hold of, and that was like, you want to play Mono Fire, that's a staple. I had to look like Norway for that card in there. I ended up finding it in Norway in German, and I think that's where like collecting can ruin it if it's not a game that is massively distributed as much as other TCGs that are huge.
Yeah. I think you're right there. I mean, it is sad when we see, say, like some people in America, for example, saying that they can't get their pre-release kits for however long and stuff like that. I mean, distribution is distribution, isn't it? We're always having a problem with.
I will say, I think we're lucky to play a game where the design team and like the people behind the game want players to be able to access, meta cards cheaply.
Yes.
We're not playing a game where they'll like print a tiny amount of a prizing card that you can only get through that, which I've heard many other TCG horror stories with these kind of things. So I really enjoy that and appreciate it. But yeah, I guess I'll answer the question. Collectors and players. I think the games maybe wouldn't be a viable product without the collectors. I think it's part of the strategy to have these people who have this urge to have 100% of all the cards or their own version of 100%.
Yeah, like Final Fantasy 7 and stuff like that.
I'm purely a player. I have a collection in order to pull play sets out to play the game. So I probably still have 90% of the cards in the game. All in non-foil. Like, I always go low rarity and I trade off my max rarity and like try and make it fund itself, which is great. I feel very lucky to be in that spot. And I'm surrounded by people who collect a bit more, so I can trade my rare stuff into their non-foil legends, and I think that's great. I think the game, I really appreciate the game being a game. Like, I don't really understand the collector mentality that well, but I'm just an experienced kind of guy. But I really I think they work together, and I think you need them both. I think you need the players and the collectors.
I think it's kind of just occurred to me in that sense, because we have somebody locally that does this, and then we have, and I can name someone because it's more publicly available, like Matty DeGrave on one of the Facebook groups for trading, and he does regularly. We have collectors who purposely buy product en masse to pull the signature card, and we all know, because like the Final Fantasy TCG product is mapped. So for those that don't know, when a product is mapped, it means you know what you're getting out of it. For example, there is a set amount. If you buy, was it a master case? I can't remember how many. The master case is how many boxes? That's the stuff I know.
Master case is 6 boxes.
So if you buy
master case is 12, is it?
But
12, yeah.
12.
Yeah, case is 6, master case will be 12.
Gotcha.
Right?
So if you buy a master case, you are guaranteed one of every full art in the set.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what it is you buy, but it's a smaller amount. If you buy it, you're basically guaranteed CRHL, like, at least.
Yeah.
So, we benefit.
That'll probably be the case, yeah.
Yeah, and we benefit from this because someone in our be the case.
Hey,
Because someone from our local, every opus, someone from our locals who wants the signature card or wants one of every full art will spend X amount of money on a master case, which then benefits us because we get our CRHLs for cheaper, or our CRHs or whatever we buy.
Yeah.
So it's a very symbiotic relationship with a certain type of collector.
Yeah.
I'd say.
And the only time a collector could be doing damage is if they're like hoarding cards in order to like inflate the price of said card or something like that. But I don't think we've actually got anyone doing that in FFTCG at the moment.
No.
So.
It's a very appreciative collecting game.
I definitely I think there's those who absolutely want to collect a certain card, a certain rarity of a card, and I think it's like, I don't know, I've seen someone with loads of Lulus, for example, and like they've got like a stack full of Lulus.
Cultural.
And I think it's because that's their favourite card, so they want to just buff out a collection of having their favourite cards and glorify over the fact that they've got but that card in particular isn't that hard to get and isn't hard to come by. So like if you want to map out loads of different sort of like cards that you love and just build I've got this many cards as a boast, that's fun,
Yeah.
I mean, I think you two have both answered that perfectly. I don't need to weigh in much with, that sort of thing. I just enjoy collecting promos, any promo, and I don't even need a playset. I just need one to have a folder of shiny promos, one foil, one non-foil from, say, locals, and then any other promos that come out, I need them. I've even gone into the Opus 3 starter, FF9 and Type 0 just to pull out those which were promos, to slide them in and go, I've got number order, way that fills my happy spot of collecting. I couldn't give a shit about having every card in the game. I only have the cards that suit what I want to play as. So I think I've got a very I don't really have a relationship necessarily with collecting apart from a small section of it.
Yeah.
So
you've done the kind of compromise.
I think I do very much what you do, Sam, where you've got when you get a high rarity, or like say you get a pre-release kit and you go, hey, I pulled a full art, hey, that's cool, anyone want it? You know what I mean? I want to get more cards into my collection so that I can play the game. So I also have a bugbear, like a pet peeve of having a deck that is fully non-foils and then just one foil in there, and I'm just like, no. I'm one of those people who's like, if you can't foil it, don't foil it. You know what I mean? If you can't foil out the whole deck, don't foil it at all. So that's where I don't really care for foils, really. I think the only time I ever do that is when it's like a signature card. Like, this is what my deck's built around. I'm going to foil this one. I'm going to leave, like, I got the full art Cecil off you, so that I can go, hey, I've got full art Cecils because this is what my deck's centered around.
So sad I got rid of that to you. That was like,
you can trade it back if you want.
I was so naive thinking that I was like, not that Earth Cecil was bad. I was like, I bought the full art. Sure, I want to down trade. I want to like trade it to get more stuff for myself. And then I ended up playing the deck that needed it. I'm like,
oh no, shut it off.
Yeah. I think the FFTCG is really. It seems quite harmonious. Again, the more you think about it, it's weird because like, I see there's an American group that I can't remember the name, but they do raffles all the time. The guy calls it a waffle. He's like, this week's waffle is on like this card, and the pricing for his raffles are always really, really good. And I never see like 1 million people, so it's definitely not like a lucrative money making exercise. And people win a fun card and stuff like that. And like we say, these CRH bundles, because somebody wants a signature card. I think overall collecting is very harmonious in this game because it's tied to a very expansive franchise that is still growing amongst adults. And that's the main thing. It's growing amongst adults who are just enjoying the game. Or whatever it is. Whereas what I've experienced with a game that is purely a TCG, therefore it's like purely a sport, more or less, like Yu-Gi-Oh, because Yu-Gi-Oh is mainly for kids in terms of the TV show. The cards only really hold their value as like staple pieces, as like meta pieces. They're far more inflated for their value or condition. Extremely, or like and that inflates everything else in turn. So an FF doesn't really have that problem as much.
No, you've got the devs of this game actually, like you said, wanting everyone to have access to be able to play the game and enjoy it for what it's worth, really. And being that it is quite a small card pool at the moment, 22 sets. I mean, it's not a small card pool, but it's small comparatively. It's nice to be able to have as many as you can for the decks that you want to build, and and play the decks that you want to play. And then collectors also have a luxury of having the options to keep what they want to, for themselves, and it's good. I think. Yeah. We've waffled on, and we've actually covered quite a bit, to be fair. We're holding back, as I say, a couple of other ideas for the next one. So if you do have any sort of thoughts that you want to throw at us, do reach out, message us on Facebook. We will try and get these back into YouTube as well, as we've had. Down to me, really. I've been kind of, do I put these back on YouTube? Do I get them up on YouTube? I think if it's been where we've had most of our questions, to be fair. So I feel like I should put them back onto YouTube so that everyone can catch them on a different platform rather than on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Those are the main two. But yeah, if you have any questions, don't be shy. Just, head over to our Facebook page and send us a message.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so...
Well, we'll wrap up for this time, but keep safe, everyone. Enjoy competitive season, and just keep on trucking.
Yeah.
Don't get too bogged down in the intensity of competitive season. Remember, you're playing for fun.
Exactly. I hope to see you out there. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.